Hello, relatives. I hope you can hear me good because I got my earmuffs on this time around. I'm at my mom's in my hometown, so welcome. Um, I would like to be smudging, but I'm not going to smudge right now. So I'm going to go ahead and read the Elder's Meditation today for July 16th, and then just talk about what we read, okay? So here we go. July 16th. Grandfather says you must not hurt anybody or do harm to anyone. You must not fight. Do right always. Excuse me. It will give you satisfaction in life. The question one should ask themselves is, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? If you want to be right, this is a request from your ego. If you want to be happy, then this is of the Great Spirit. The only meaning anything has is the meaning we give it. Maybe we should develop the philosophy of today is the last day of the rest of my life. If this were true, how easy it would be to let things go. How easy it would be to forgive. And then there's a brief prayer at the bottom, and that says, "O Great Spirit, let me live today as if it was my last. Let me express your joy and be happy today. Let me see the joy and honor of living on the red road." Okay, so let me go ahead and I'll just share my thoughts on that, relatives. I know I'm kind of probably not as loud, and that might be a good thing. It's just because I'm at my mom's. Thanks, Mom. We have a family member that needs a lot of support, and so I'm out of town quite a bit, and I'm really grateful that I have somewhere that I can come to Mom's and that I can be supportive. So that's why you probably will be seeing me here quite a bit. I have been, and you've also seen me on the highway quite a bit. Anyway, so if you're new to my station, my name is Michael. I'm from the Ihankawano, the Yankton Sioux tribe of South Dakota, and I am Indigenous. I'm Native American, and I usually like to read out of the meditation with the Native American elders or another book that comes from the perspective of that way of thinking that the elders used to think. And so it might say Native American elders because that's where it comes from. But even if you are non-Indigenous or you're not Native American, these are the type of readings that can make a difference in anybody's life. Okay, so please feel free to comment. Please feel free to include these in your life and see if they can help you. I promise you that they can, because they certainly help me. And I'm pretty hard-headed. I'm pretty thick-headed, relatives. I'll tell you that right now. And if you know me, you know. You can back that up. So I'm going to go ahead and just share on that. And again, just so you know that this video is unedited, and that's on purpose because I want to reveal myself to you in such a way as to be in the moment, to be out of my comfort zone. And this is my way of exposing myself out of my comfort zone in the moment. And so it'll be unedited. It won't be, it's raw, it's unedited. It won't be pretty or anything like that. I won't be sugar coating it up. And I understand that probably does bring a lot of value to somebody's video, but certainly from the perspective of the way that I've been doing things, is I just wanted these videos to be very raw. And so let me read this again. Grandfather says you must not hurt anybody or do harm to anyone. You must not fight. Do right always. It will give you satisfaction in life. The question one should ask themselves is, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? If you want to be right, this is a request from your ego. If you want to be happy, then this is of the Great Spirit. The only meaning anything has is the meaning we give it. Maybe we should develop a philosophy of today is the last day of the rest of my life. If this were true, how easy it would be to let things go. How easy it would be to forgive. Then there's the prayer, O Great Spirit, let me live today as if it was my last. Let me express your joy and be happy today. Let me see the joy and honor of living on the red road. Okay, so that's a really good one because I know in the past, and certainly it can happen at any moment because that's the way that life is, that's the way that I am, and maybe you can relate to that, is sometimes I just want to be right. I want to prove my point, and there is a lot of injustices going on today in today's society that, hey, you know what? We are right. We feel like you're right, you're wrong, I'm right. And it's hard to really meet in the middle. So, certainly, this type of conflict, they say that conflict precedes clarity, that conflict is a way of life. And in our Dakota way, we have known from the very beginning that conflict is something we're taught in this. We've been socialized, shall I say, to avoid conflict. We don't want to have anything to do with conflict, but then again, we know conflict is a way of life. Conflict teaches us. So when it starts talking about like ego and stuff like that, I think that's relatively a term that is new to our indigenous people. That I don't remember too many people. I don't know. I don't know if there's a word for that in our traditional language. I don't know, so I can't say. But I will say that sometimes I do want to be right. Sometimes I do want to prove a point, and I don't want to let it go. I want to be right, and I want you to know how wrong you are. I want you to know how right I am. I want you, and so all my energy is out of balance. I don't think that right now, especially in this place where we're at, I think it's really important for us to understand what is right and what is wrong. I think it's really important as we teach our children, as we learn about ourselves and evolve as people so we can pass down these characteristics of what is a negative characteristics as far as quality of a person, but also what are positive characteristics. And I think these type of things, these type of discussions that are in this type of literature and these discussions that we have really are very healthy because I think it's really healthy to say, yeah, I have an ego, whatever that might mean in different perspectives or different traditions. I have this part of me that just wants to be right, that wants to prove my point, and is not satisfied unless somebody else knows that. And I think that can be really um, I think that can be really important, especially if a family or you or me or a family or as a community or a nation, speaking in terms of what our nations are going through now, is to really be able to identify what it is that is negative, what is ego, what is the consequences of being like that, and what is the value of being like that. For myself, I know right now in this time I do have to stick with what is right. There's just I don't know if there's an invisible line, if there's a light in the sand, but there seems to be right now. And so from my perspective, I can get carried away with that. I can really um, get find myself off balance, even though I know that it's right, what's right, and I'm really thankful for that because at one time in my life I was just so far out there in self-destructive mode that seemed everything within me seemed to be wrong. The way that I lived, the way that I looked, the way that I spoke, the way that I did everything, and And so that perspective, what do they call that? When you have a perspective and then you subconsciously create and sabotage your life's self-fulfilling prophecy. And in that type of mindset, that was the cycle that I felt more like I felt like I was stuck in that. So any type of being right or wrong, it was just always a great conflict and there wasn't any balance to it. So, in other words, I was very, very unhappy. And even though I feel like politically and characteristically and community wise, I do feel like I'm on the right side, sometimes it just feels like it's too much. And so that's when I really need to make sure that I'm bringing balance into my life. Am I praying? Am I doing things for my community? How am I eating? This is a really important time. Am I spending time outside? Am I there for my family? Am I allowing people to be a relative to me, to be a family member to me? Am I taking care of myself? And so when I'm like that, when I'm centered and I'm in balance mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally, and it's really easy, it's just part of being a human being to get off center physically. A lot of our foods these days aren't really foods anymore and we're bad, but you know what? I love a good cheeseburger. Holy smokes, relatives. But you know what my favorite food is? My favorite food is chili dogs with like a big old icy root beer. But I know these things are unhealthy for me, so once in a while I will definitely get myself a good chili dog. I gotta be honest with you, there aren't really any really good chili dogs around here, but hey, I do the best I can. But at the same time, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being off balance is a way of life for human beings. We're going to be off balance. But when we don't know when we're off balance, that's when we start to really lose vision. Because being off balance can bring vision. Okay, losing one's health or and going into bad health can produce vision. Because when you're having a hard time emotionally, or having a hard time physically and going through a health struggle, it can certainly bring perspective into the real value of life. And what are some of the best values in life, or the greatest things to um, to treasure in life are our health. Some of the best things to treasure or to really be appreciative, have gratitude in life is family. Other things in life are food. Other things in life are just freedom, fresh air, the ability to walk. I know, you know, when I've been sick, I at that time and at that moment, I realized the perspective of being able to go outside and to feel well. So so obviously conflict is a part of life. Ego is a part of life. It is a way of a venue or it is a way to, let's just face it, get real about ourselves. Let's get real. We all have ego. We all can get carried away. Even the best people that I know, what makes them so good, or what that makes them such a quality people or person, was at one time, or is the fact that they're really open about their struggles. They're really open about those characteristics about themselves that they know that they are weak in, or they know that they need to improve in, or that they know. In other words, they're just real honest people. They're just honest about themselves. They're open about their short sightedness, or the characteristics that they have identified that they need to improve on. So obviously nobody's going to be perfect here. Nobody is. In fact, nobody is expected to be perfect, but we've been socialized and conditioned to believe and hide from these characteristics they call, and we use these scary words. We terrify ourselves. We call them our dark side. We call them our ego side. I really don't understand what ego means. I'll be honest. I know it originates from somebody famous, and there's the id, the ego, and the super ego, or something like that. I really don't know what it means, to be honest with you. So I think it's a relatively foreign term to our indigenous people, but I'm sure that there is some sort of wisdom there that our indigenous people knew about as far as that side of us that is determined beyond, that can get carried away and need to be right. And I know in our indigenous, we usually, in that type of behavior was known, and we also knew that each person was capable of that type of behavior. Each person was capable of that type of thinking. Each person was capable, each person had that within inside of them to think like that, to behave like that. And that was a part of the teachings. And so in order to offset, and since we knew that that was always going to be a challenge throughout one's life, we had balance in our life to sort of offset that, or bring, like I said, balance, or circular cyclical way of thinking. And so when those times came up in our lives at that time, we knew that just like this book said, that this, if we got carried away with it, we could get lost in that ego. And so that's why some of the priorities of our life, and still continue to be as indigenous people, are a life filled with the non-material. And a good example of that is one of the best things, one of the values of practical terms was giveaways. Is and one of our thoughts were, well, it's really easy to give away something that you don't need or don't want anymore, but it's in order to really sort of develop our character and develop ourselves as human beings and develop our spirits within. It was normal for us to give away our most prized possession. We knew that when we were able to do that, that we were going to learn something, that what we were giving away was going to come back, and there was going to be something was going to be helped within our own ego, within our own spirit, something. Because we were able to do that, we were going to gain something. We were thus humbled by giving away something of our most prized possession, like our most prized horse. We did, we love these things, but yet we were going to gain something out of that. That's something to bring balance into our life. And so that was well, just many ways of fighting of bringing balance from what they say, from the ego, the dark side of us, however, the selfish side of us, that side of us that is born into a material world, where it's really easy to fall victim to this belief that we need to be right all the time. We need to be showing our best side all the time, and so we're not going to have these type of conversations, right? And so thus our family systems began to sort of lose sight of that structure that it was built on, of the non-material, but it had been built solidly on the foundation of the immaterial, of honesty, of trust, of character, of honor, of truth telling, of looking out for other people, of this kinship system, this brotherhood, this sisterhood. And that was the structure, and that is the structure that, as indigenous people, that our foundations of life are built on. And that is in respect to all of creation. Our foundation was was with respect towards our bird nations, our four-legged relatives, the deer, the standing people, the plant nations, the tree nations. And so what that happened is thus we were very humbled, and we lived a life in balance, and we still do. And so then it was that made it very difficult to become that type of ego, to always need to be right. The quality was, we were, as human beings, had this interconnected relationship with grandmother earth. That's why when you go outside and you're on the grass, something shifts with inside of you. You are different from when you took your shoes off to when you started walking on the earth. Something happened. Something changed. Something happened to you that affected you physically. All of a sudden you could just maybe relax a little bit, or all of a sudden maybe you were just a little, some stress, your stress levels went down and you were more relaxed. All of a sudden maybe, your feet just felt really good, it was really soft, land on those toes. And all of a sudden you started to hear things. Maybe you started to hear a bird that just 3 seconds ago, the bird was there 3 seconds ago before you took your shoes off and walked on grandmother earth. You couldn't hear that bird because you were consumed by this busy, fast-paced, get things done, be right all the time, watch out for somebody who's wrong, this sort of fault-finding way of looking at life. And when you have that change, and you can have it at any moment, and that really shifts your perspective. And when you do that, grandmother earth, who is a grandmother, and so if grandmother earth is a grandmother, then guess what? You're a grandson, you're a grandchild, and that means forgiveness. That means that we are learners. We have a lot to learn. Okay, and granted, we're teachers too, because again, I'm a father, I'm a grandpa, so I need to be a positive example of what does a positive person look like. Do I want my granddaughter? Trust me, when my granddaughter's around, I'm more enlightened to these type of behaviors, to these type of beliefs, because I know she's watching me. So am I gonna be cussing around? Am I gonna be hollering around that I'm right and you're wrong? No, I'm gonna be on my best behavior, because I know that there is a sacred being, a sacred soul that looks upon me as that type of sacred being, sacred soul, sacred example. But also, am I going to teach my granddaughter that she needs to be perfect? No. And I'm going to role model that by showing her that grandpa isn't perfect, that grandpa has a lot of teaching to do, a lot of learning to do, a lot of lessons that I still have in front of me, and I'm going to be real open, I'm going to be real honest about that. So I'm just going to go throughout my day knowing that I'm a grandpa. I'm going to go throughout my day knowing that I'm a grandson. And when I have that type of perspective, you start to see all of creation like that. I start to see the squirrels, and I know that sounds cheesy, but you watch a squirrel will teach you a lot. You watch a squirrel for 20 minutes, and guess what happens? You become relaxed. Guess what happens? You start laughing. You start having a lot of love, a lot of respect. And the same goes true with that four-legged, that squirrel's reaction towards you. That's why our animal relatives, our four-legged relatives, our plant relatives need the two-legged, the human being, to be in balance. They need us because we are a part of that cycle of life that is with all interconnected. It is all a part of each other. There is no separation. There cannot be separation. And so I'll use this as a perfect example. This is a real good example. It was about 2 weeks ago. My brother and I were sitting on his porch, and we were praying in our traditional way. and we were doing so in a way that I'll just kind of just and we were and so after we got done praying, we acknowledged all of creation. We acknowledged the four directions. We acknowledged all the creation when we pray for all the relatives, particularly around spring, because around springtime, not only all of creation is in motion. It's sort of in the same sort of, they're doing the same thing. And in other words, so we make sure that we pray for all, like, in my brother's yard, there's rabbits. It's really awesome to be there. But you all of a sudden start to see little baby rabbits because in the springtime, they start to give birth. Same with the trees, same with the birds, same with the horses, same with the buffalo, same with all of creation is doing the same thing. So we make sure that we pray for these little ones, these little rabbits, these little squirrels, that they have safety, that they are well fed, that their parents. So we bring balance into our life, and that really helps with the ego. Well, I'll go back to the story. Is about maybe 2 weeks ago, I noticed this because my brother and I pray together all the time, using sage or the non-use of sage, or with the chanupa, with the pipe, with the drum, with singing. We do that. Okay, that's really powerful in our lives, and it's very important to us. And so we do that, and I'm really grateful. That's like one of my favorite things to do. Ever really. It's right up there. Um, and so we were praying, and then we started hitting the drum. My brother will typically drum, and I will sing, and my brother will help me sing. And so all of a sudden, just like that, there was a squirrel that came down by a pole, like an electrical pole, right in front of us. Like, I'm not good with feet, so I don't know how many. I'll just kind of estimate like maybe 20 feet, maybe 30 feet. But we were on the porch, and the light pole was right along the street in front of us. There was a small yard, there's a sidewalk, that light pole, and then this street of traffic. And that little four-legged relative, that squirrel came down, scurrying down, and we're always sort of enchanted, right, with animals. We love animals. People have spirit animals. They have, put things in their homes to honor animals because we know how powerful they are. They know that animals have such a powerful spirit as to change and to teach. Well, this little squirrel was up there, and I like to watch them because they have such real good balance that teaches you about taking your time, about paying attention, and about being able to have balance in life, and they teach you so much more. Anyway, so this particular squirrel come down really fast. Squirrels move fast; their tails they twitch, and so this squirrel came down because we were drumming and singing, and he stopped right above the ground, like really close to the ground, and he was looking at us, and he was looking at us with one eye, then he'd move around and his tail would flick around and he'd be looking at us another way. He was, because we were right there and we were doing something that his grandparents heard many years ago, because the drum is the heartbeat of Grandmother Earth. And so the drum represents being able to cleanse an area, to purify an area. And we were singing. And we weren't singing loud, we were just kind of singing and drumming. And that squirrel came down and was really paying attention to us. We're talking, it was obvious that he was sitting there checking us out because we were drumming. And at that time, do you think that I could have any kind of an ego? No, none. Nothing but respect, nothing but balance. Looking at that squirrel as having their place, an equal place in the life cycle as us. And so that squirrel was really paying attention, and I think that I'm almost certain, because I can feel it, when energies start to flow in their another energy like that that's moving like that. They're drawn towards each other, and without needing to have words and be able to speak, they connect. They're already connected, but they start to communicate. You understand each other. And so I knew that that squirrel hadn't heard a drum for a long time. I knew that that squirrel was going off of the memory of his grandma and grandpa. And so it was striking that area within that is sacred within itself. And it was so fascinating, but I could tell that it knew that there was something about the drumming and singing that was good. And so since I saw that, I kind of pointed it out to my brother, as we were going along. And it was almost like the squirrel was dancing because this tail was really going like this, like that. You know how when a squirrel moves its tail, it just doesn't kind of float. It just kind of goes like almost like a blink of an eye. It was almost like that squirrel was dancing, but it was certainly focusing its attention. This relative's attention was on us, no doubt about it. And so I felt like honored. I felt honored. The squirrel had made his or her presence, a relative, a squirrel relative, a four-legged relative, have come down to acknowledge our song, to acknowledge our prayer, and to be with us as we did that and as we prayed. And really, that's what we had prayed for, and it really happened. So in that moment, there was no ego, none, absolutely none. But will there always be those type of times? No. The ego is a part of us, and it's a teacher. I know when I'm watching. I know when I'm in my ego, and I just did, and I needed to be right, and then later on down the line, I'll just be thinking, did I really do that again? Did I really behave that way? Did I really say that? And the answer, if I'm an honest person, is yes. So that ego can really teach us how to be more honest. It can really teach us how to be more humble. It can really teach us about our emotions. It can really teach us about each other. And when we're able to accept that about each other, we really become like relatives. We really become very close. We really start to love one another. We may not love being told that we're wrong, but when we really think about it, and when we really examine our lives with our best friends or with our family, we know that when we get into it and we get into the states of ego and we get carried away, that they can really divide us as a family, but we still love each other, right? That's the thing. That's the confusing thing. We still have this love for each other, but there is a division there. Two egos. One of us, nobody wants to budge. I'm not going to budge. They're not going to budge. And that causes that separation. And so when we start to look at that, that is a good thing because we can identify that. That's something positive. That's part of being a positive warrior. Nobody's a positive warrior all the time. There always has to be negative, and there always got to be positive. That is the way that creation was set up. And there's Lakota and Dakota stories that back that up. It is the human being that has forced ourselves into thinking I can only show my positive side all the time. I have to be a good boy all the time, and if I don't, then well, things such as that. So I've really I don't appreciate the times when I'm in my ego and I need to be right, but I learned a big lesson about humility. Afterwards, I know that there's something inside of me, characteristically wise, and something inside of me about me that needed to cross that bridge in order to learn that lesson. Now, the problem with today's society, in my opinion, is that we lack that type of inner soul searching, that type of honesty in the material world has a lot to do with that. That pressure to conform, that pressure to succeed, that pressure to be the boss, the pressure to be right is really ruling today's society, and we are really out of balance. And so for myself, I always like to remember that um, there's always grandmas and grandpas watching me. Okay, I'm always a grandson. I'm always being watched. That squirrel in our Native American way could have been a grandpa. That squirrel, that was a full-grown squirrel. But I'm just telling you, spiritually wise, if you see a dove, or you see your favorite bird, or if you see a bumblebee, or a blade of grass, or or a river, you're seeing a relative. You're seeing relatives. You're seeing family. And when you live like that, and Shelley, thank you for that example. She asked that she had that love for a tree, and that tree had the love for her, so that she was allowing that relative to be close to her, to help her. The cycle of life has everything to do with helping. The tree isn't going to want to be right, right? The tree isn't going to be caught up in this human condition, and because we're human, because we think that the tree isn't like that, we've gotten so far off track. We think of the tree as less than. Isn't that kind of backwards? We think that the tree doesn't have language, doesn't have their own tradition, doesn't have power, but yet they provide oxygen. How backwards is that? You know what I mean? And so we mustn't shame ourselves into that, but we really do need to be honest. Otherwise, if we're not, if we lose the capability to be honest, and there can be real reasons why we lose that capability. A lot of that has to do with trauma, bad things happening to us, and when we lose the capability to be honest with ourselves, we become very susceptible to having our lives being run by fear and by ego, and also falling victim and not being able to recognize that. Thus, we become short-sightedness. We don't have the vision so for our indigenous people, we need to, and we do, we maintain correspondence, communication with the unseen forces, our grandmas and grandpas, the wind, the sky, these powers that exist within us, but also without us. And that is what brings balance, as we acknowledge this, we live this way of life, and so thus we are less likely to fall victim to those type of egoic patterns that can really, like I said, divide. Or if we are in balance and we decide at any moment in our lives that I'm going to start to make a decision about my life. One of the decisions about my life that I'm going to make today is I'm going to do some soul searching. I'm going to start to really evaluate myself, and I'm going to start to look at places where my characteristics are really positive, and I really like that, and I believe that's a good teacher, and I'm going to continue to live like that, and to understand the positive things. But there, again, everything in life has a positive and negative, up, down, hot, cold. Everything has all that in between. Okay, so it's really healthy to have somebody to talk to, or somebody to go to, or even within ourselves to write down about how my ego is susceptible. And number one, we're going to know. Number one, we already know these as human beings, is politics. Okay? I know. And I'm not alone in this. I think that's why it's such a strange time, is because of that. Religion. Okay? Things such as that. We know personally, and on a more personal note, like racism is a big thing for me, and that's why I can really get stuck in my ego because I know racism is not okay. Having been in, in things, and you can use your own example. That's not okay, and not only is that not okay, but it has it has played a part in your life, and now you know that, and now you've been healing, and now you know that, now you're an advocate, you're standing strong against it, and now you know you're on the right side, you know right and wrong. You know what I mean? So this is a very, very powerful lesson about being a spiritual being here, having a human experience, about your spirit's ability to carry your body, to carry your thoughts, your dreams, your intuition, which these are all extremely sacred. Let's have a real honest conversation. Let's not fluff this thing up or fluff it down. This is a very real conversation. These things are extremely sacred because they came with you from the spirit world. And in this world today, we've been conditioned to really minimize those type of things about ourselves. And what does that do? That really makes us susceptible to other people's ego and really makes us susceptible to our own ego. To It's our own spirit's way of trying to bring balance, to teach us something, to say you're equal. You're equal. What you have to say is important. Your perspective and your vision that has been given to you is important. So we know things have happened in your life. And we know that it's very difficult for you. And so we're going to help you through this. And it's going to be a struggle. You're going to struggle, but that is a part of this coming back from this. And as you go and as you travel through your life cycle, you're going to start to feel like a push and pull. A push and pull. There's going to be a pull to want to be pulled into the material world of, hey, my value is on my SUV. If I don't have my SUV, then what? If I'm on the bus, then I must be really bad. I've had so many wonderful times on the bus. I've had so many memories of being on the bus that it's just, I've gained value and perspective of being on the bus. I've gained value and perspective of 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 giving away my most prized things. I've gained value and perspective of losing everything and being reduced. And those are the words that we need to really be careful about what type of English language that we use. Because when you have that perspective of what is most important in life, you become very, very sacred. You become spirit. You become the spirit being that is having a human experience rather than a human being having a spiritual experience. You are walking in spirit. You are literally walking on earth as a spiritual being. What do you think that squirrel saw? Because we were singing and praying, we were in spirit. And the squirrel saw that. It heard it, it sensed it. And then we saw that because we were praying for the four-leggeds. That mutual respect, just like Shelley said, they were being a relative towards each other. And so in that moment, that ego can exist, but that tree will help you with that ego. The tree will help you. The wind will help you with that ego. The sun will help you with that ego. Grandmother Earth will help you with that ego. The birds will help you with that ego. And we all know that. But in this world, we're only taught that we can only have little samples of that, and then we got to get to the busyness of life. And so, what do we have to do? We have to increase these experiences, And then after that, then we make decisions, life decisions. If I'm going to go do a presentation in front of some people, do you think I'm just going to go in there, grab my computer, grab my things, and walk in there and do a presentation? No. I am going to go outside onto Grandmother Earth, and I'm going to say a prayer. I'm going to pray for all the land. I'm going to pray for the land. And I'm going to pray for the people that are going to be in there. And I'm going to thank the grandmas and grandpas for the lessons. And after I get done doing that, do you think that I'm the same person as if I would have just grabbed my briefcase and ran in there and done a presentation? No. No. Because when I do those type of things with that type of respect, the interconnectedness is strengthened. Interconnectedness is in my eyes, it's in my hearing, it's in my body language, it's in my voice. I'm going to say different things when I did that as if be prior to if I didn't do that. And that's going to make me less acceptable to my decision making when I need to be right. Okay, so I'm going to do those type of things, and I'm going to implement them in my decision making so I can make a more interconnected, more balanced decision. And that's going to make me, and if like the way things were for me for a very long time, it was very out of balance. And so there needed to be a lot of work that I needed to do it needed to be a priority. Okay, it was something that I knew in my spirit that I needed to make to be on the forefront of what I was going to do, because I needed for myself, I needed to redefine myself. I knew that I had gotten mixed up and I had gotten confused and I had just gotten off track, and so that needed to be the priority, and that was a very, very sacred time. And so ever since then, I've just been doing my best along that way. And have I fallen down? Oh, um, yes, I have. But when you're in that place where you know what real life priority is, it's not by the dollar. I don't know where my wallet is. Oh, here it is. It's not by this and how fat this is. This is my wallet. And how much I have in there. And now granted, you do want to be secure, so this isn't a completely anti-money thing. Okay? You do want to be able to buy food. You do want to be able to provide. You do want to be able to raise your children. You do want to be able to have experiences. But if that's the most important thing in your life, then you're out of balance. Okay? Just straight front and center, you're out of balance. But when you're in such a place where, and I can only say this, when you're in spirit, you know you're in spirit. And that is the sacred place that is within us all. You are now a spiritual being here, having your spirit. There's no other way about it. Your spirit. People say human being. You are completely spirit, and that includes the ego. That includes your negative characteristics. You are a spirit. Period. End of story. You're a spirit. And then we bring in other words, and we really need to be careful about that, because we can become misinformed. We can receive wrong information, and that can really have an effect on us. And so pay attention. Pay attention to the birds. Pay attention to the land. Pay attention to the wind. Thank the wind. Thank the birds, because they taught us about life. And thank the wind, because without the wind, we wouldn't be in summer season right now. We would have had springtime, and we wouldn't have this time of renewal. Thank the north wind, the winter wind. Thank them, because then we wouldn't have these four seasons. We wouldn't have the cleansing of the land. We wouldn't have storytelling. We wouldn't have that balance, that cycle of life. And in that time, you'll be humble. And in that time, um, that ego will be in balance. And then you can say, help me with my ego. Help me with it. Help me with it. Help me with this person. Help me get back to the person that I really am, and that is, I'm a spirit. I am a spirit. That's just the way that is. I've seen it, relatives. I have. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I've seen it. But right now, I'm here walking on this earth as a human being, and that is part of being a spirit. Right now, I'm walking on this earth, messing around when I should be serious, or being too serious when I should be messing around, and crying when I should be laughing when I could be crying. We judge ourselves so much because we've been conditioned to do that. And so when you do that, you can just tell yourselves, when I'm feeling judgmental, let me be aware of the fact that I'm being judgmental. When I'm in fear, let me be aware that I'm in fear, and that I am the spirit that is watching my human self do these things. I'm a spirit behind all this human things, and it's not division. It's interconnected. It's together. But make no mistake about it, you are a spirit first, and that place is within and without and all throughout. And we got to have balance, because we know how to be a human being, right? We're taught how to be. Show up, don't be late, follow the law, follow the signs, be nice, go shopping, eat at certain times. Those are the laws that we've created for ourselves through human beings, and that's good, because we got to have those. But those spiritual laws, get to know yourself spiritually, that you are loved no matter what condition, no matter what. That spirit is so powerful within you. You've been taught to be very fearful. You've been taught that you can't be yourself. You've been taught that your voice is smaller. You've been taught that you just fill in the blank. You've been taught, you've been misinformed that you have to follow this way. You've been misinformed that you have to look like this. You've been misinformed that you have to sound like this. You've been misinformed that you have to go right when you wanted to go left. Your spirit goes, you've been misinformed. And when we identify those type of patterns and how they play themselves in our life, we realize now that our spirit has been talking all along. And so that is the wisdom, the spiritual wisdom of living as a human being. But never forget, you are a spirit first. You are love first. But never forget that even in this balanced world from all creation, that there's love and there's hate in every single one of us. That there's light, then there's darkness in every single one of us. And we've been conditioned to act like we don't have any darkness. We've been conditioned to believe and to only show our light, right? I have sat in so many talking circles where people learn to identify, and it's gotten mixed around. They think that they are only darkness, and they don't see that they are light. And nobody tells them that they're spirit. Nobody tells them that they're beautiful, that they're handsome, that they're wonderful, exactly the way that they are. And imagine how healing. Can you be an ego at that time? No, you can't. And those are the spiritual ways. Those are the normal ways. The rest of it is abnormal. This is normal. This is the way that we were brought into this world. This is the way that we really are. Your spirit. And I know, so myself, I got a lot of learning to do. I got a lot of I got a lot of learning to do. And that's when I have that attitude, natural law of creation will say, okay, he does know that. He's not one of those walking around thinking he's got it all figured out and he's got this wall in front of him that says, I already got it all figured out. I know it all. I got all the money in the world. I got all the things, so you need to listen to me. I'm a learner and I'm a teacher, but I am a learner and I have a lot to learn because I am a grandson of all of creation. Creation has much more experience, much more wisdom, has lived a lot longer than I have. And when that I follow that, that is part of natural law, natural thought. And when I'm in that place, natural law and natural creation knows that I am and starts to work with me. It'll start to, you are now working in, within the interconnectedness of natural law. And you think that there's less ego there, I promise you that there is. Okay? I promise you that there is. And that's where we need to be so that we can redefine, restructure our lives, reroot ourselves back into the foundation of Grandmother Earth and the universe and all the interconnected of creation. Because you see where we're going now. We're going to a money first, right, wrong. Oh my gosh, I'm not even going to go there. But you see what's happening now. And so, anyways, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for watching. Just want to invite you. I always give my phone number out, 605-491-0200. I know that eventually somebody's going to have to call me and give me a hard time, but that's all right too. But I always extend that invitation if you want to have a conversation and speak using spiritual words. See, even the words, those are words we got to, anyways. If you just want to talk, I also, over the past, and still continue to do group presentations in front of groups. I already have a couple of them that I just recently booked. Not that I'm overly booked, but my priorities are for my family member right now. That's my priority because my family member is going through a very sacred time, and I need to, and I want to be around that. So if you have any questions, or you want to have me as a speaker, or you want to talk to me and maybe get a little bit more clarity on maybe what I meant, and then we can get to know each other, because I promise you that I am not any smarter than you. I'm not any more enlightened than you. It's just something, it's just connecting to your spirit and bringing those walls down and allowing your spirit to radiate and go out. That is what your spirit was meant to do, is to go out. It wasn't meant to be boxed in, and because you've been misinformed so much, that's what it does. It creates a wall of fear. You've been boxed in. And no wonder you feel like you need to be right all the time. It's because you ain't got no wiggle room. And in this society, we've been conditioned to believe you get wiggle room by being right all the time, by having all the money, by having all the status, by all the, I need to be bigger, I need to be better, I need to be tougher. You know, you've been boxed in, and you've been misinformed on what it's like to break free. And so, if you want to get a hold of me, please do that, 605-491-0200. Also invite you to just ask that you like and subscribe to my channel. I've been doing this on one media site for, I think this is year 8 or year 7. I think it's year 8, to be honest with you. And so now I'm moving these also over onto YouTube. So please follow my channel. And I think in the long-term goal, that is part of the long-term goal, is for myself, and to spread love and to bring that interconnectedness and awareness, or all those warm and fuzzies, you know what I mean, those type of things. So again, I want to thank you for watching. Please feel free to comment as you go along. So with that, I will see you.